gents? Rocco Yep Cinema for another video. Now, this is a video that's gonna be the first of hopefully many that I want to make. I'm gonna have a playlist full, already made and full of basically the same topic. It's just every video I'm gonna pick 3 movies that, in my opinion, are pretty underrated or extremely underrated, and that they're very good, they're very entertaining, they're a mixture of everything, but for whatever reason, they just didn't get love or as much love as I think the movie deserves. So, hopefully, this is one of many in the future. And as you can see, is the title 3 underrated movies. Like I said, every video I'm gonna pick three. I'm pick 3 movies where, in my opinion, they are not as loved as they should. Now, starting with the first one, genres horror, found footage, documentary, action, adventure, thriller, suspense, and finally, mystery. Now, the movie's called As Above, So Below. You probably heard of it. You probably seen little glimpses here and there on fucking TikTok or on Instagram. You know those channels that post like movie clips or TV show clips only. Or you probably see it on Netflix. It was on Netflix for a bit. You probably saw it there and you know, you didn't watch it. But in my opinion, this is a very good movie. Now, I mean, the fucking poster in of itself, especially nowadays, that we all we get is floating head posters. Posters pretty iconic, pretty unique, in a small way, iconic, but iconic a little, and it's pretty unique and it's pretty cool, and it's pretty attractive in my opinion, in terms of getting your attention to be like, what is this movie about? You know. Now, in terms of money, it was pretty much a success. Any movie that can do almost 9 times more than what they originally spent. I mean, they spent 5 million making the movie. It gathered 42 million. So that in and of itself should be enough to explain it. You know, money wise, it didn't fail. Now, this is a movie that came out on August 19, 2014. It was around that time where, movies like this were pretty popping. I don't know if you fools were old enough or if you guys remember that there was once a time where found footage or POV movies were pretty common. They were a pretty big thing. For example, there was like, Blair Witch is obviously the first one to initiate all this, as the whole movie is from the point of view of these 3 documentary style making students, and it's from the whole movie's filmed supposedly on their little cameras that they're recording the documentary on. But also, like, from that all the way to, like, for example, like, I think the movie's called Hardcore Henry. It's like an action movie about this dude, and everything is from his point of view. Like, we're literally seeing it from his point of view. The action, the drama, everything is from as if we were in his shoes the whole entire movie. So yeah, this is probably why it influenced the style of them deciding to make this POV movie, is what I like to call them. Um, and it was directed by John Eric Donald. So, overall, the movie, the plot, just a little rundown without putting, exposing, or like, I guess, yeah, I guess like not exposing you guys to the entirety of the movie, not spoiling it for you guys if you haven't seen it. But the movie's about an archaeologist who becomes obsessed with finding the Philosopher's Stone. I'm sure you fools have heard of that shit. She becomes especially obsessed with trying to find this stone because not only was her father obsessed himself in finding it, but he committed suicide as he was on his journey of trying to discover and locate the stone. She doesn't know why he killed himself or any of that. So, I guess in a weird way of coping with her trauma, she decides, hey, you know what? I'm gonna fucking follow in his footsteps and I'm gonna find any clue I can that leads me to the Philosopher's Stone. And in the process of finding the stone, she searches leads to, she finds clues and whatnot, and these leads lead her to Paris, specifically in the catacombs underground. The underground city of the dead underneath Paris's very floor. You know, everybody knows what the catacombs are. But she goes there, she finds her and a group. She I guess her work is pretty famous enough to where this kid, I'm pretty sure I remember it right. His name is Benji. He's like this fool that wants to make a documentary on her. So that's why the movie's that's the excuse of the movie of why it's filmed in a documentary style. So he's making a documentary on her. He's following her around. He's filming everything. The guy that you see in the picture is like an old friend, kind of love interest that he's like super smart as well as her. So like they kind of help each other out in brainstorming when she finds clues and stuff because he's also pretty interested. It's just that he's not very thrilled about going on this adventure with her because last time he went on an adventure with her, he ended up in jail in, I believe they say, Turkey. So, not a pretty nice place to be. And fucking in the joint, you know? But it's those three, and then another pair of three who they meet in Paris. It's supposed to be these people who frequently travel the restricted areas in the catacombs. For those who don't know, there are restricted areas, and there are places where they take you on tours. Basically, the restricted areas is restricted because it's dangerous as fuck. Homeless people live there. Uh, Rats that are infested live there. Um, it's flooded as fuck in there. It's dark as hell in there. It's like a maze, so you could get easily lost and not find your way out for fucking hours or even days, especially if you're not well prepared. And also, it's not very stable. Sometimes the roof or the walls could collapse, and you could just be walking in the catacombs and a fucking stone lands on your head, and there you go. There you were. But this movie is just. It's one of those movies that, in my opinion, like once you watch it, you have no problem putting it in the background. Like it's just a rewatchable movie. It's a pretty entertaining movie, especially when like introducing it to a loved one or to a friend or just just somebody new who hasn't seen it. Just introduce it to them, and you know, it's one of those movies that you won't fall in love with. Like I don't, it's not top 10. It's up there. Oh, it's up there with Godfather and all these movies. But it is a movie that I feel like it's hard to watch this and come out not entertained and not like being like, yeah, that was a good movie. You know, I think this is a very solid movie to just like. I feel like this is a hard movie to not enjoy your time watching it and not, just be like, oh, so that was pretty cool how they did this. Plot points that I will say is there's three things that for me that do kind of bring the movie a little bit down in points. In my opinion, this is a 7 out of 10 movie. Is there's a scene where like it's part of the plot. She's learning to accept her father's death and whatnot. But there's a scene because he hung himself. That's the way he committed suicide. There's a scene where she's in this Dante Inferno style hell in the catacombs with all these people, So there's like illusions, there's weird stuff going around, paranormal weird stuff going around them. And I guess in a way to kind of torment her, they show the image of her father hanging, and then she's holding the camera. Like I said, this is a POV style movie, so she has a camera, and she goes up to hug her father as a way to like be like, hey, I forgive you for killing yourself, because she was very young when she did it, so she kind of blamed him for kind of doing it. She was kind of mad that he would like abandon her, especially at a young age. And that scene's supposed to be, nice, and it is a pretty nice scene where she's supposed to forgive her father for killing himself and leaving her at a very young age. And the CGI is very terrible. In that scene, the CGI is pretty fucking terrible. It's super noticeable and it's just super dorky. It looks like if somebody now with like a fucking laptop or a Mac, you know, they they were like, hey fool, you like hey my guy, you got 2 weeks to do this. I really need this favor. I'm making a movie. Just just have her hugging the guy, and as a favor, this random dude just makes it in 2 weeks with the laptop. It's pretty bad. Uh, Another thing is there's a there's a scene, like I said, they're supposed to be in like this hell type of place, so they're kind of being tormented by things of their past, especially the big things that haunt them. One of the guys is that one of the people that brought them to the catacombs, he's supposed to be their navigator. He, you know, they don't go too much into the lore, but they're supposed to imply that his burn marks that he has is because a couple of years ago, 5, 7, decent amount of time ago, he was in a car accident of some sort where it caught on fire. He burned himself, and he blames himself, I guess, in the sense where he didn't, he didn't rescue the person, or he caused the accident, or he was too scared to save them and just let him die. But there's a scene where they're walking around the corner and there's a car on fire, and when they all like align themselves to the car and they all see the car, they also see that there's some random dude in it. He's just chilling there. He's not on fire. He's just amongst the flames sitting down. But he turns around and he looks at the leader of the navigators, of the tour guys, and I think his name is Papillon or Pap, something like that. He's a French dude, so I don't fucking know. But yeah, he's like frightened. Like the camera's facing him. He's frightened, and then he just starts mumbling the same thing. He's like, "It's not my fault. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's not my fault. I'm sorry." And he starts getting dragged towards, like, this invisible thing is dragging him to the car on fire, and then him and the car get like warped into the ground. Like they get not sunken down or dragged down, but they get like dragged but warped into the ground. And then when they're done warping into the ground, all you see is his two fucking legs, like from underneath the knee to the tip of your toes, are like sticking out from the ground, but everything else is underneath. I don't know why. To me, that scene is just like, it's such a cool scene because it's like we don't know much about this lore of what exactly happened to this guy that's in the car. How exactly did he die? What how exactly is Pop like involved, or how guilty he is in this guy's death? And we've seen that he was tormented, and even earlier in the movie, they were like his homies, like the other two tour guys, like they didn't want him when they were asked, like, "Hey, what's his burns? Like, what's the story behind his burns?" They'd be like, no, nothing," like they would avoid it because like it was already. What I'm trying to say is like it was established that this is something that really affected Pop. Like it was still tormenting him, and I don't know. You had that scene, and then I don't know. You just ended on a goofy note, like this dude's legs are just dangling outside, and it's just like, I don't know. I just found this so goofy. And then the point third point is, in my opinion, they could have implemented a little bit more like supernatural, like, because like I said, they're supposed to be in some form of hell in the catacombs. um and especially the scene where they're supposedly entering officially hell. I just thought like they could have used more like demonic things or scary things, whether it's because like they did a good job like doing stuff in the background. Like, this is a movie that you can rewatch in the sense of like picking up the clues from the beginning. Like, there's stuff that you could rewatch and be like, oh, that's that dude, or oh, I didn't catch this the first time. So I don't know. In my opinion, they could have done a little bit more of that. They do very good stuff, like background stuff, like that scare you. Like, if you catch it, that's scary. They could have leaned in a little bit more on that, but more like creepy, demonic stuff. Like I said, especially when in the part of the movie that they officially enter hell, that's when they could have ramped up a little bit more, in my opinion. But other than that, this is a 7 out of 10 movie. I really enjoy it. I really recommend it if you haven't watched it. This is an easy movie to just have someone that's never seen it watch it and just see them watch it. It's very cool. Second movie is Face Off, starring Nicolas Cage and John Travolta, directed by John Woo. This came out in June 1997, and it made $246 million off a budget of $80 million. Now, this is a movie that's, a mixture of sci-fi fiction, science fiction, action with the 90s, late 80s style, and crime thriller. Now, this movie is the same thing. When I mean underrated movies, a lot of them are gonna be 7 out of 10s. This is another 7 out of 10 movie for me. This is this is just a very solid movie, and it's pretty fucking bonkers. It's pretty fucking wild. As you can see from overall the movie, a little same thing, a little plot segment for you guys without spoiling too much. So there's basically this agent, uh, who's played by John Travolta. His character is like in charge of taking down crazy out, you know, terrorist. Basically, is what he is. It's just, think of the Joker, but less crazy and less psycho, like less psycho, less crazy, and less comic booky, more realistic in a bit while still being fucking crazy. That's how this terrorist, who's played by Nick Cage, that's his character. He just loves anarchy. He just loves chaos. He loves doing whatever he wants to do, and he loves to do it for fun. Whether that's blowing up fucking planes, buildings, what, like, he doesn't care, and he's pretty smart. He's always been able to not only plan out and execute his plans, but remain one step ahead of the authorities, especially John Travolta, his character, and avoid getting arrested. Now, in one of these operations, John Travolta's character has a sting operation against him, and he's about to get him, but it goes wrong. It goes wrong, and he gets captured. Now, this is where the science fiction comes in, and the fucking, like, pretty unique story comes out of nowhere. I've never seen any movie try this before. Weirdly enough, Freaky Friday, but not really. But this movie, basically, the plot of the movie is John Travolta's character, the agent, and one of his sting operations to catch Johnny Cage's, to catch, Nicolas Cage's character, the psycho terrorist. It goes bad. John Travolta's character gets captured, and like I said, he's crazy and out of pocket. He decides the best course of action to get away with the crimes he's been committing and fuck with this guy, this agent, is to swap their faces. That's why it's called Face Off. So they go through a surgery, like a facial surgery, to where they cut John Travolta's face off and Nicolas Cage's, and they swap the faces to where now Nicolas Cage is the good guy in the movie because he's John Travolta's character, and now the bad guy is John Travolta because it's now the good guy's face in the bad guy's body. And that's the whole plot of the movie, is that the agent is trying to get his life back. He's trying to convince people that, hey, I just went through this fucking crazy ass revolutionary, never seen before surgery, all because of this psychopath. And he's trying to take over my life, and he's trying to use my connections and my ability and my like power in the agency to commit further crimes and stuff like that. So yeah, I don't recall any movie ever having the same kind of plot, or like part of the plot is that they surgically remove the person's whole face and just implant it into somebody else's. But it's pretty it's pretty out there. Like you probably seen clips of this movie, like I said earlier with As Above So Below. There's Instagram and TikTok channels out there that their whole page is dedicated to just movie clips or TV show clips. And one of the clips you've probably seen from this movie, which I always see a lot from these pages, is Nicolas Cage is pretending to be a priest, and he's walking up to this massive choir in this building, you know, and they're composed of like teenagers and young adults, boys and girls. And then he spots like this chick, like this pretty young chick, like I don't know how old she is, probably like 17, 18 years old. But he like spots her, and he's like walking up to her, and he just starts flirting with her in a weird way, and she's kind of fucking with it for some reason. I don't know why. But then he gets behind her as like they continue to sing, and when they start hitting the high note, he like reaches down and grabs her ass, and he's like exhaling while singing the same choir notes as the kids, and he's making like that typical Nicolas Cage like crazy face, wide-eyed, as he stares at the camera in the ceiling and it zooms out. It's a weird way to open the I'm not sure if that's the opening of the movie, but it's like one of the very first scenes of the movie, and I'm pretty sure it's like the first time you ever see Nicolas Cage's character in the movie. So I don't know. It's a pretty fun watch, pretty crazy watch. The only like down thing to for me in this movie is they could have leaned in more in the drama and like suspense, but mainly the drama of Nicolas Cage really ruining this guy's life. Because like I said, he's the polar opposite of this man. He's a deranged terrorist who does whatever he pleases, and he does things for fun. And what he considers fun is chaos, and is chaotic and like borderline for like an anarchist. So, and John Travolta, the agent, his life is more like married man, father, stable job in the agency, standout guy. So I really think they could have implemented more of the drama, and like John Travolta's character, the agent, is like really trying to get his life back from this deranged psychopath. But once again, like I said, most of these movies in from this series of underrated movies, most of them are sevens. In my opinion, this is a seven. This is a solid movie. Now, number three and final movie of the video that we're gonna be talking about is a movie called The Outsider. Um, this movie, I know. Don't get your panties in a wad. Don't get mad. Don't go. Ah, oh, come on. No, listen to me. I know it's starring Jared Leto as the lead actor. I know. Believe me, I don't find him that very well as an actor. Um, but in my opinion, he keeps getting casted because of certain roles that he's made in the past that have been good. And in my opinion, this is one of those few roles that he's had and he's done well. In my opinion, The Outsider is one of those few movies where it's starring Jared Leto and Jared Leto didn't he wasn't a big part as to why the movie fucking sucks. So, but it's starring Jared Leto, uh, Tada, Tadanobu Asano, and Emily Hirsch. It's directed by Martin Peter Zanliet. I hope I'm saying that right. This came out in March 9, 2018. This is a Netflix movie, by the way. For those who don't know, this is a Netflix movie. So if you have Netflix, which I'm pretty sure most of you fools definitely have, so it's an easy watch. You go check this out. But this is a movie that made 25 million out of a $10 million budget, so more than double. So it's obviously not a bad investment for the guys behind investing this movie. But this is pretty much a crime drama. It's a yakuza movie, uh, with elements of neo noir action and suspense. Now, the overall movie plot, basically a marine, pilot captain Ura. Basically, for those who don't know, during World War II, we were fighting the Germans in Europe, and we were fighting the Japanese in the Pacific. We send the Navy and the Marines. We send a Marine, the Devil Dogs, to go deal with the Japanese in the Pacific. So this movie takes place after the events of World War I. I mean World War II, but it is connected to World War II because this is, as I stated, a Marine captain that gets captured during World War II, and once World War II is over, he gets released from prison, and then the movie take for some reason he decides to not leave. I forgot what exactly the reason. It's been a while since I've seen the movie, but he either has no family or he just doesn't care to go back, or he's trying to find himself again in the place that he lost himself, type of stuff. He decides to stick in Japan. He's like, yeah, I fought these guys in a war. Yeah, these guys captured me and fucked me up in prison, but I'm gonna just stick around. So 9 years later, sorry about that. I don't know what happened. 9 years later, 1954, um, he's free, but he decides to stay in Japan, where little by little he starts to become like a good member, but then he starts slowly messing with the guy who is in the yakuza, who is a yakuza, but he is part of like this very powerful family, and he starts getting closer with this guy, and this guy starts believing in him a little bit more, so he starts trying to introduce him and make him a member to the family. There's obviously some people that are opposed because obviously he's not, number one, he's not Japanese, he's American. They just came out of a war, so stuff is a little sensitive still. So it's like obviously a lot of people don't want him, but he goes on little missions, little build up. He proves himself and becomes a pretty high and respected member in the Yakuza family. And yeah, that's a big part of the movie. I really enjoyed this. Like I said, I do have a sweet tooth, a soft spot for crime, mob movies, and in my honest opinion, to me, the modern movies are kind of don't do them very well as they used to. I think like the golden age of like mob movies was like the 90s. You know, you had some good moments in the 80s, very good moments in the 80s. You had some very good moments in the 2000s before, from 2000, like 2010. But the golden age was like the 90s. The 90s was just very good mob movies, whether it was like Italian mobs or like in Chicago, or just anything to do with like crime and mob and the mafia and stuff like that. But to me, this is one of those movies that it's past the golden age or those good eras in the 2000s that still does a pretty good job. And surprisingly, like I said earlier, Jared Leto doesn't do that. You know, he doesn't do bad. I'm not saying that bad. I'm just saying he just does a solid job. He's not over the top. He's not trying too hard. It's not bland. You know, it's just right. It's just right enough to sell you what the movie's trying to sell you. And in my opinion, the action is very good. The drama is pretty good. You know, I forgot why exactly, but the one point for me is like the love interest. I think, I don't know, I just don't feel like they played the love interest well. I think they could have, like had it flown a little better than what they originally had it. But other than that, this movie's a very 7 out of 10 for me. It's it's one of those movies that you just watch it, you have a good time watching it. It's pretty interesting, and yeah, like you could watch it once and be good, but that one time you watch it is not because, oh, I'm only watching it once because this movie fucking sucks and I never want to see anything related to it again. But it's just one of those movies where it's like it's not enough to be like, damn, I wish they made a second one, or I could, I'll be down. Like I'm down as hell to rewatch that movie. It's just one of those movies where like, yeah, I watched it. It was good. I don't regret it. It's enjoyable, decent. Go on with your day. But in my opinion, not really much people know about these movies. All three of them, not just this one. All three of them. A lot of people that I talk to or that I've seen online, they don't really know what these movies are. They, no one's really seen these movies, and I think that's a crime, especially with like Face Off. I think that's a damn near cult classic in my opinion. Um, yeah, but these movies are severely underrated, and I think giving them a little exposure, even a channel as small as mine, should should help in trying to get the exposure out there for these movies. But yeah, that's the end of the video. That's the end of the third movie reviewing that we're talking about today. Um, like I said, I want to make a series out of this where every video is like three movies that I'll be talking about. Uh, where it's just like, yeah, like in my opinion, movies that deserve much more love than what they get. They're very solid movies. They're very good, enjoyable. One like, you know, especially like Face Off and as above so below. Like you'll remember watching them. Like they're a rememberable experience, and that sucks that some people don't get to experience, and that's why I want to point it out there. So if you guys like these type of videos, make sure to recommend the movie that you think is severely underrated, or movies that you think. I'll check them out. If I haven't seen them already, I'll check them out, and I may just make a video out of it or add them to a video. So, with that being said,